Welcome back, everyone. Sunday, the 5th of October. Good evening, good evening, good evening to everyone right across the world. We are live on just YouTube tonight. I forgot to stream it anywhere else. Oh, well, one of them things. I'm joined by two very special guests this evening, maybe a third one later on in the show. First of all, it's a warm welcome back to the wonderful Sarah White of the Pink Ladies.
Hi, everyone.
The Only Way is Epping, and we have an extra special guest tonight. That is our dear friend Momus Nesmi. Big friend of Tommy's, has been around the scene for many years, star of all sorts of Talk TV, GB News, you name it, I think he's been on it. I'm just waiting for him to pop up on EastEnders one day, I don't know. Momus, how you doing, my brother? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
What have you both been up to? Sarah, I gather you've been out being a naughty girl again today. You've been out protesting again today.
Have. Yeah, they can't keep me away from protesting, can they? So, done the protest this afternoon from 4 o'clock in Epping, but from 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock today, I was concreting and helping out Lola's dad, because Lola, who I spoke about previously, was the girl who tragically choked and ended up with irreversible brain injury. So we've been helping do the concrete floor for the hydro pool that he's having made for all of the other children in the community that are like Lola. So I got a team together and we went there and we concreted, mixing it ourselves.
Well done. Good girl. Keep you strong. I tell you what, so I want to do something with Lola's Lola's parents before long. I've got two things on the go at the moment with children, and tonight, before we go any further, I just want to say that tonight's show is dedicated to young Isaac, nephew of a very good friend of mine. Isaac has been born with some horrendous conditions. There's a link to a GoFundMe in the video description below. You can read all about Isaac's story there. It's very sad. It's very tragic. Bless his little heart. You know, this is a real big, a big cause for me and for my dear friend. And this is one that I'm certainly going to be supporting, and also your one as well, Sarah, that you're dealing with as well. So we've got two things going on the go for the kids at the moment. Any support that you can offer either would be greatly appreciated, and I really mean that. And there is a link in the video description below. Every single penny goes direct to the families. Nothing to do with me, nothing to do with Sarah. So it is what it is. We're trying and we're doing our very best for these beautiful little babies that deserve a better start in life.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Momus, first of all, tell me, my friend, what have you been up to?
Oh, well, I've been up to getting sick. I was in Greece and I got like really bad throat. Someone was telling me it was a new COVID strain. I was like, well, I already got COVID 2 times, so it doesn't matter.
It weren't the famous Deli Belly then. You didn't get the Mickey Flanagans, but you know.
Could be. Who knows? But now, apart from that, I've been at Advanced UK's launch. Was that not last weekend, wasn't it?
2 weeks, yeah. What did you make of that, Moment? What did you?
Well, to be honest, it was a lot better than I expected, because the venue change happened at the last moment. I was expecting it to be a lot worse, but actually they pulled it off. And the people were really, kind, all of them. The ones who were attending, and they were very supportive, so they kind of like brought it all together and pulled it off. Ben, obviously, he always comes off as a nice guy, which he is, and some sound policies and stuff. So I think so it was exciting to see so many people. It's been exciting to see such a surge of so many members joining up, all of a sudden as well. All in all, I think so it was a good experience. It was a really good experience, I think so.
Do you know Ben yourself, Momus? Have you met Ben before?
I haven't met Ben before. I met him on the day. I'm hoping to get to know him, more, as they're trying to also get me involved within the party. So, as a special advisor or whatever they want me involved as. So I think so. I'll get to know I'll get to know him more. But from what I know, like he comes off as a very genuine person, like not
Yeah,
just a nice person, but actually sort of when you hear him speak, you can sort of see that he means what he says. People might disagree with what he says, but
yeah,
that's separate from, he's not trying to fool anyone,
yeah. And
basically.
people are entitled to agree, right?
Yeah,
Sorry, people are entitled to
yeah,
disagree.
to
I mean,
disagree. Yeah.
at the moment, we're seeing far too much of look, we'll touch on it very briefly. The firebombing of the mosque in Peacehaven last night took my eye particularly because that mosque, I actually know it quite well. It's next door to a restaurant that me and my wife used to go to quite a bit, and it's not actually on a road. It's actually sort of down a bit of a gravel side road. Not particularly, I wouldn't say it's a particularly heavily used mosque. I mean, you see the guys milling around, particularly on a Friday, but apart from that, you don't really see too much of them. So I was quite surprised to see that had been attacked last night. Now, I put a note on the community page earlier on. I will always make it quite clear that I'm dead against any form of violence, any sort of intimidation, and I would condemn that act unequivocally. I'm not going to even, try and pretend that I would like to make excuses for it because I'm not. At the same time, as Andy the Gabby Cabby said earlier on, there's been 9,000 crimes committed at churches in the last couple of years, and you never hear about any of them.
Yeah.
So look, the bottom line is, and this is where we'll get on to our friend Gary Neville a little bit later on. Some of what Gary Neville had to say was, in my opinion, very wrong. He had a point with one or two other things, but we'll get to that a little bit later. What's your thoughts on that, Momus? I mean, is it
On the mosque.
frightening? Yeah, is it frightening? I mean, is this something that could, God forbid, could spread and tit for tat?
Okay, so I mean, a few thoughts. I'm actually surprised if it is a genuine attack on the mosque, right? And it's not a false flag operation, which kind of feels like it because of the timing of it, right? It is so convenient that like when one of the Muslims have done an attack, which people have been warning about, the Islamist attacks and stuff. All of a sudden, there's an attack on a mosque, right? It's even if there was a genuine far right, like I mean, that would be a very stupid timing to do an attack on a mosque, right? So it just seems like a false flag operation to me. But let's assume that it's not a false flag operation. I'm actually surprised that it hasn't happened sooner, and that's not me condoning that it should happen, but from what we're seeing from both sides, sort of like the rhetoric of the extreme as well, but as well as the actions of the Muslims themselves, and then the so-called moderate Muslims not really coming out to support the British people against the Islamist brothers and stuff. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner. And yeah, I mean, there's an element of this. It can go on. It can go on, to more mosques, and like there can be retaliation. This could be the starting of a civil war that people have been warning about, or it could be just a containment if it's a false flag. Like we don't. I think so it's a bit too early to call what it's going to be.
Yeah, we don't know.
We know, like leading up to the election of 2029, there will be more violence. There will be whatever kind of, in whatever form it comes up as, there will be more civil disturbances, unrest.
Momus, why do you think all of a sudden, when I say all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden, but within, within very recent memory, political violence has become a thing. I mean, when I was a kid, I don't know about you, Sarah, but when I was a kid growing up, we never had political violence. I mean, the left and the right were really only a cigarette paper's width away from each other. There wasn't really too much to argue about, the odd finity here and there, but they are only sort of a little bit apart. But now everything is so polarized.
In my opinion, there's always been political violence, right? All violence is sort of political. Like, what happened with the IRA, that was also political. That wasn't
Yeah,
just
true,
territorial,
true.
that was
Yeah,
political. The world wars were political, right? Because it was a political philosophy and stuff like that. And people became that extreme. Politics has a way of leading people to these parts because it is an ideology that you fight for ideologies, right? So I think so there's always been political violence, but I think so what you're referring to is like normal people not really fighting each other. In a household you could before find a conservative and a liberal point of view, and they're still coexisting, right? And that has gone off since probably the COVID, or it's been probably 2016 Trump time and stuff. I think the over influence of American
yeah,
polarization as well. I think so. This is an American um, over American influence on the whole of Europe. That everything they see is at red and blue. There's nothing in between, right? And I think so. That's just, and added on with the fact that people have become, there has been a dumbing down of society for so long, right? People being detached by how their system works. We seem to know more about how American system works, how the presidents work and stuff, but we actually don't know how our own parliament works most of the time over here, and that's like
yeah,
normal people, right? So I think so it's a mixture of like, it actually being done to the people because it's beneficial for those who want to control, right? And when people have are when you're dealing in a society with a lot of ignorance, it's very easy to come to violence. This is what I saw in Pakistan as well, because the highest number of uneducated people, I found them over there, right? Not to mention 60-70% of them having done being a product of cousin marriage as well. But this uneducation, this ignorance and stuff leads people to not be able to articulate their issues, not be able to fight with words because they don't know the subject matter and stuff. So it just goes to violence.
yeah.
And that's what we're seeing in mass scale. But political violence has always been there.
What about you, Sarah? When you was a teenager or in your 20s, did politics really play a role in your life or your upbringing?
No, not really. Like you'd hear like parents and aunts and uncles or odd conversations in the pub, but nothing. It would only be if there was an election coming up, like, oh, who's going to get in, and you'd hear about like, oh, Labour are ruining the country and Conservative are now ruining the country. But it
Yeah,
was never on the tipping point, which it is now. And I feel that everyone is at loggerheads about something. Like we'd gone through where like there was no issues really in this country, not where, like you say, everyday people
Mhm.
falling out with neighbours and people just walking down the street. And we never had, I don't think we had that. We had the major stuff, like you're saying, like with the IRA, but it was mainly in other countries. You would talk
yeah,
about problems in other countries. They was never really in our own country. It was just about football. That was
Mm.
really it. But now everyone's got a problem with the education system. You've got like the LGBTQ, XYZ, everything added on. It's like as if we didn't have a problem with gays over the last, say, 10, 15, 20 years. And now all of a sudden there's this major thing where there's some issue has been made out with now trans, and because, oh, hold on, no one cares whether you're gay or not. No one cares
yeah,
if you're bisexual. Oh, now you've got to be trans. And now, well, no one really cares, but stop ramming it down everyone's throat. We don't have
yeah,
to identify you as a dog. You want to be a dog, pretend you're a dog, but I don't have to agree with that. And it's like, where can we push this now? And now it's like government and mainstream media push like the Free Palestine marches, and they try to make out that everyone on that side is so peaceful. And now there's a massive shift in the last 2 years towards everyone who's Jewish. And I don't understand what the problem is to everybody that's Jewish. Jewish people has lived in our society for a very, very long time. We've never had a problem. I'm from the East End. We've grown up. My nan was Christian and went to a Jewish school, like pre-war. So, and that wasn't because there was no other spaces in other schools. She went to a Jewish school and she's Christian.
yeah,
So being in Stepney at the time, there was obviously a high population of Jewish people. Now, all of a sudden, there's this massive issue. And you go, well, Where has that
Yeah.
come
Where's
from?
that come from? Yeah.
And it's not right. It's really not right. I've got a lot of Jewish customers. They don't want to incite violence on anybody. But then when you look at Jewish people from the Jewish faith can live between everybody, and they're quite peaceful generally, and they don't want to incite violence. However, you have people of the Muslim faith don't want other faiths they want other faiths to be eradicated. Basically, you have I know you have extremists in all faiths. However, extreme Islamists are the snake in the grass, and the moderate Islamists are the grass that hides the snake. Where if I had someone who was a Christian in my faith and they was wanting to incite violence, I'd call them out on it.
We give them up. Yeah, we give them up.
100%. Yes. But unfortunately, you have to look, it's not just the extremists, it's the moderates as well. And it's a shame that it's happened in this country, of all places. And Christians are being persecuted around the world as well. And the mainstream media never want to talk about it.
Well, you only have to look at what's going on in Nigeria for that.
That's what I was just going to say. In Nigeria, there's thousands upon thousands and thousands people killed like every year in Nigeria. No one wants to say anything about it. Why? But then, like how you said, a mosque has been attacked. Has it been attacked by far right? I don't believe it would be attacked by Jews. And then no. Is this like a decoy? And then you go, well, what we talk about that, but we don't want to talk about the attacks on all of our churches that do happen.
I mean, we don't know what's happened down there in Peacehaven, and as I say, it's an area that I know very, very well. Everyone actually gets on really well in the area. There's no, I would say, there's no big tensions or any problems. It's a predominantly white Christian working class area. There's certainly no evidence. I've never seen any evidence of what I would call the genuine far right, and we all know there is a genuine far right, but I've not seen them manifest themselves in that particular area. The only thing that I did notice, which did raise an eyebrow slightly, was that there's a big fundraiser going on now for that mosque, and the place was in a bloody state, I'll tell you. I mean, it was very, very, very run down. Now, I'm not casting any aspersions.
Let's see how they make how much they make on insurance, then, right?
I'm just calling it for what it is. It was in a it was in a very run down state, or at least from the outside. I've never been inside, obviously, but from the outside, it looked like it was kind of ready to fall down. And then this morning, there's a big fundraiser being launched in the area. Look, I don't know. Like I said, I will condemn anyone from the left or the right that commits arson. It's absolutely crazy. And, thank God there was no one inside that got hurt, because, it could have led. And by the way, that mosque is not far from residential properties as well. So if it had have spread, it could have been an absolute bloody disaster. Let's move on to our friend Gary Lineker. I was going to say Gary Neville. They're all the same. Gary, same thing. I mean, look, most of you will have seen this, but I've got a very interesting take on this video, which I want to run past you guys in a minute. It's very short. Let's have a quick look.
I left my house and walking into the office, waking up obviously, seeing the news last night and the news this morning dominated by the horrific attacks within the Jewish community just about a mile from here. And I was driving home from Salford City last night. I was driving actually to Salford City, going down a Littleton Road, seeing 60, probably 50 or 60 Union Jack flags. And on the way back I went down the parallel road, which is Berrynew Road, which has got the Jewish community right at its heart, and they're out on the streets defiant, not hiding or in fear. And I just kept thinking as I was driving home last night that we're all being turned on each other, and the division that's being created is absolutely disgusting, mainly created by angry middle-aged white men who know exactly.
You're on
You're
mute.
muted,
Paul.
Paul.
I've got to stop it there, and I'll play the rest in just a moment. But I mean, look, first of all, I want to say this. I'll have my little rant, and then I'll bring you two guys in. But I've got a little story to tell you here. I'm sure that deep down in his heart, Gary's a decent chap, and he's got, you know, only nice things in his heart, right? I'm not going to sit here tonight and attack his character as such. What I am going to tell him, if he ever gets to see this, is a few home truths. Now, first of all, Gary, right? You are a multi-millionaire. I had a little look up at your approximate net worth earlier on today, and they say it's in the hundreds of millions. Now, let's just say it's 25 million, Gary. Let's just say you're only worth 25 million quid. When was the last time that you, your wife, your children, your mum, your dad, probably all of whom you bought a nice big house in Salford somewhere, right? When was the last time any of them had to apply to get a mortgage, or had to wait 6 weeks to get a doctor's appointment, or can't send their kids to the school of their choice? Now, here's the thing, Gary, and this is one of the things that is really important that you must listen. You rabble on in this video about how proud you are of being able to represent your country in front of thousands and thousands and thousands of white middle-aged men who paid your wages, right? There's the first thing. And the second thing is, Gary, is that you're right. You were very fortunate enough to play and represent your country. You flew the flag playing on the beautiful field, playing for England, playing for Manchester United, doing all those things. You were lucky enough to be able to represent your country in that way. But a lot of those middle-aged white men that you talk about in such derogatory terms, and you later go on in this video to admit that you tore one of our flags down, the only way that they ever get to represent their country is by putting their flag up on a pole. They don't get to have the life and the experiences that you have had, my friend, right? So you are a very, very fortunate man indeed. Let's play the rest of the video, because I haven't finished with you yet, buddy.
Exactly what they're doing. Funnily enough, on one of my development sites last week, there was a Union Jack flag put up, and I took it down instantly. And some people might be watching this and thinking, well, Gary, you're not very patriotic. I played for my country 85 times. I love my country. I love Manchester and I love England. But I've been building in this city for 15, 20 years, and there's no one put a Union Jack flag up in the last 15 to 20 years. So why did he?
Well, I'm going to have to stop again, right? He says he's very proud of his country. Nobody's put a flag up in the last 15 or 20 years. Well, that's because
Why hasn't he?
that's because things are getting worse. I can't, you know, and he talks about his buildings, etc. This guy is completely out of touch with reality. Now, I worked at a Premiership football club for 4 years. I met every top footballer you could ever wish to name during the 1990s, the lot. I socialised with them, travelled abroad with them, stayed in hotels with them. I know what footballers are like. And I tell you now, right, about the only thing that these people ever have to do in their lives for themselves is wipe their own arse. Everything else is laid on a plate for them. Gary Neville would have had, literally, if Gary Neville's goldfish bowl needed some water in it, someone from Manchester United would have come round to his house and filled his goldfish bowl up. How dare he sit there and preach to our working class that they're causing division by daring to cling on to the culture that got him where he is today, by telling them that they're causing division by raising our flag. He's got a bloody nerve, I've got to tell you. I'm not even going to bother to play the rest, because I'm sure you've all seen it. But, I mean, talk about two-faced and out of touch with reality.
Totally.
You know, like I said, Sarah, you know, the biggest thing that got me with his talk there, two things. Why hasn't he seen Union Jacks being flown before? Well, because the goddamn country's never felt this low before. And when he said he was playing for England and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Well, bully for you, Gary. Well done. You're a very lucky man and you're a multi-millionaire for it. Those
He
bricklayers.
wasn't playing for charity, was he? So
Exactly. He wasn't playing for free. And here's the deal. All those bricklayers, those plumbers, those builders, those people that work in factories that paid his wages every goddamn week, well, they are the working class that are raising that flag right now because they feel lost.
Yeah. And also, he's got to think that the people that watch the football are people that are born and bred here. You're not going to have people coming into the country to watch English football teams, really. Not so. It is the working class, predominantly white male that is watching the football. Now a lot more women have got into football and blah 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 and all of that. But does he class anyone in the royal family as being, you know, a white middle-aged thug because they fly the British flag outside of Buckingham Palace, you know, outside of all of our state buildings there is a English flag, and at the end of the day our flag has been deemed racist for such a long time, and people have had enough because when you've had the likes of taking the knee for Black Lives Matter, all of them footballers, they was the spark that really infuriated people, because it's one rule for one rule for another. You want to do this, you don't want to do that. You want to stand up for this person, but you don't want to stand up for that person. And we're always the underdog. So now people are putting up our flag because we want to change the narrative. We want everybody to be proud in this country. If you come from another country and you come here, you should be proud of it. If I chose to go and live in Spain, I would be proud of the Spanish flag. If I went to Pakistan and lived there, I'd be proud to fly their flag. And that is what it should be. Every country should be proud. But for some reason, the English people have to be seen as being complete and utter racists because they want to fly their flag. And the people have had enough. Hence the reason we're all out protesting. Hence the reason now it's predominantly women are coming out and setting up like the Pink Lady movement. And you've got people that are going out. They're spending their own money on these flags. And for him to say that it is a divide, no, Gary, it's mainstream media and our government that are causing the divide because they're not happy enough with it being divided between football. Now it has to be men and women, rich and poor, black and white, old and young. You've got to have a divide wherever you are, and that's who's causing the divide. Not us, not people who want to fly flags. We're trying to unite the kingdom.
Yeah, you also have to see like who benefits from dividing people as well. Like it's people like him because they get more control. And when he's saying white middle-aged men are causing issues, it's white middle-aged men like you, Gary, you know, who are the Marxist and the liberals and stuff, who are causing the issues, the enemies within, who are letting these people who are coming from abroad take advantage of this country. Right. So he's right, but he's just not calling himself out, right? He's right about being divided, but he's just not seeing that he is the apparatus.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, do you know what's really bothering me this last week, Momus, and it's really only started for me in the last week, ever since Shabana Mahmood's speech, when she started talking about ethno-nationalism. This hasn't been about colour.
No.
It so hasn't been about anyone's colour skin.
Definitely.
But all of a sudden, rather worryingly, people like Shabana Mahmood and now Gary Neville are starting to talk about skin colour, and that is really concerning.
I'll listen to her when I see a white Pakistani, you know, being elected as an MP. Then I'll listen to her. Right, about even a black Pakistani, have an African Pakistani, even that will not happen, right? So it's okay for everyone else. It's okay for her and her family as well, and her bloody cousins as well, to hold on to their Pakistani nationality and identity and all of that in their own countries, or even in this country. But people over here, if they want to, you know, be proud of their own country, of their own flag and stuff like that, then it's a problem.
I wonder how many footballers will be taking the knee for the Jewish people that lost their lives. in
Yeah.
Manchester.
No, none of them would be. I think so.
None of them,
Nobody,
no.
all of his supporters, Salford, whatever stupid club that he has, they should just stop going to his club. And this is what people need to do: just walk out from these people. You know,
Well,
let
there's
it
a big,
suffer.
there's potentially a big problem coming up with when Aston Villa play. James, good evening, mate. How you doing?
Good evening. Sorry, I didn't realise I had to download a different browser and kind of. It's never the text never easy the first time, is it?
It's not, mate. I'm just hoping we haven't got any bounce back there. Seems okay. How you doing? First time on the show now. James knows Sarah. Sarah knows James. James, say hello to Momus.
Almost.
Yeah, man.
And James, tell us a little bit about what you do, my friend, because you featured on the show a couple of times without actually appearing. Give us a little introduction, what you're doing.
I'm just picking up on the Gary Neville.
Oh, you just gone mute, mate. We've lost you. We can't hear you. That's better. You're back.
Right, let's try taking that mic out. Is that better?
That's better.
Yeah, okay. The Gary Neville thing, actually, I seen that last night. Somebody put a comment on and a link. So I commented directly on it, hopefully for Gary to see it, but obviously we get a lot of comments. I'm not a football supporter. Just doesn't mean anything to me, which I know is probably quite controversial. But I pointed out to Gary Neville that whilst he's talking about not flying the England flag and there's nobody more patriotic than him because he's played this many times for England, I said, yeah, but you didn't do it for free, did you? That's where you've earned your fortune. That's where you've got your fame from. And then you refuse to fly the flag. I said, but actually you're a disgrace, aren't you? Because not only not flying the flag, physically taking a flag down. Just who do you think you are?
Yeah, sure.
And I also pointed out that, funny enough, he's a paid up member of the WEF as well.
Of course he is.
So the World Economic Forum. So what an absolute hypocrite. Earning his money from this
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah, let him play for Nigeria and see how much money he earned over there then. Let him. Why didn't he play for Nigerian clubs then? Why didn't he play for Kenyan clubs then, right? Making money over here and then, disrespecting his own country like that, and then trying to claim that as if he's more patriotic than the people who actually, okay, you're more patriotic than the people who have actually served in the army then,
And by the way, Momus, and by the way, building an absolute property empire and portfolio right across the northwest there. I wonder how many of them homes he's given away to people that can't pay him for them. Probably not very many.
Are housing illegal migrants, and he's coining it big time.
How many of them are housing for Gaza? I want to see that trending.
I mean,
thank you very much, Nicky.
We're all running businesses and we've obviously got mortgages and stuff to pay. But to come out with stuff like that when, all right, let's face it, he's done a lot better than most footballers because generally they tend to earn the money in football and a bit of fame and then blow it in later life. So he's doing well for it like that. But and I'm not saying he's involved in this, but we've all heard of the dodgy funding of a lot of the redevelopments in the centre of Manchester. I don't know. I'm just saying. It seems funny that, he loves Manchester, he was saying, but he doesn't, but he's not particularly a fan of England in general, he said. So why does he love Manchester so much? What, just because that's the club he played for, or because you've been doing very well through connections?
Yeah, he's been doing very well in Manchester, that is for sure. James, tell us a little bit about your Fly the Flag campaign. How's it going?
Well, I mean, we did come and talk to me about the Union Jack, come and have a chat with me on Thursday underneath the giant flag at Chesterfield, which I actually think went really well. And I'm not going to pretend to be any kind of Charlie Kirk or anything, but it was that kind of idea to try and get people a bit engaged. And actually, I think it went really well. Obviously, you need some opposing views. It can't all be kind of the tooting of the horns and everything great. Yeah. I did find it a little bit funny that one guy who did sit down on camera, because quite a few people would sit down and speak on mic, but not on camera. And afterwards, he said, I sat and spoke to James. He holds extremist views like a lot of these. And I've ended up, so that obviously then gave me his name and address on his full name rather than just his first name. So then I pointed out to him in the comments that you're saying extreme, what, for looking to secure the future for my missus, for my daughters.
Oh, you're going. Mike's gone again.
We just lost your mic again there, James. No, we just lost you for a moment, mate. We'll give you a second to try and get that back on. Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the, I'll tell you what, let me get through one or two of the supers. Thank you, Jimbo. Thank you, Evening Paul, Sarah and Momus. Dark Side of the Moon, Gary Neville is a traitor. I'm not going to disagree with that. Chris Carter Jackson, Gary Neville, all gob, no balls. Thank you very much, Corinne and Laurie. Thank you, Gary. Deflecting what happened in Manchester to the flags. I mean, has he forgotten what else took place in Manchester not that long ago? Has he been talking about that a lot recently, or does he talk? I don't know. Maybe he has. To be fair, I don't know. But I've never heard Gary Neville talking about a problem with a certain demographic blowing up kids at a pop concert.
No, they are so ideologically captured, right? And it's not just him, actually, because he's good with his businesses and stuff like that, right? But he's not really that bright of a person. So he takes on other people's ideas. You can see when he talks about stuff. This ideological capture is everywhere. It's in the civil service, in the local government. It's in most of our politics, liberal politics, within the Conservatives, within the Labour, within the Lib Dem, with obviously hyper in Green Party and stuff. And they're so convinced that they are right? That they will do anything to defend their sort of ideology. So even when they know it's wrong, right? So a person like Gary Neville most definitely knows that the attack on Jews is wrong. That's why he was bringing it up, right? But he cannot say that, and that's because we have these Muslims over here who have false ideas against this country. He can't go that step, even though he knows it, right? That we are having these illegal immigrants and stuff. Is the reason why even Labour is trying to move against some of the illegal migration, right? Because inherent inside of them, they know that they're bringing wrong people here. But admitting that means that their ideology will fail.
Yeah.
Right. And it's pretty much like how most of the Islamists work as well, or most of the Muslims work as well, right? There's a very good correlation to see between the left and Islam. It's because of those reasons, right? A lot of decent Muslim would know that the history of Muhammad himself, that he was a wrong one, right? That he has done things which a normal person cannot agree with. But they cannot admit that, because once they admit that, then the whole thing falls down like a house of cards. And that's what it is with these people. Even though they know it, they just can't admit it, because when they admit it, that means giving up. They have admitted it, and that's defeat. But all the normal people know it. So it's just like a facade, right? Everyone knows it.
I wonder if, sorry to interrupt you, I wonder if they would be exactly the same. Say if people of the Christian faith or Jewish faith was so aggressive and would persecute them, if they would be different, because we're always so laid back and just like, oh, says anything about us, it doesn't really matter. And that's, I find that, like, if you say, that's why they're so worried, because it's if they say anything about anyone, about anyone who's from the Islam or like Muslim faith, it's like, oh God, we can't say anything about them because we'll get persecuted.
Yeah. And people of the liberal thought, sorry, Paul, just to finish that, there's people of the liberal thought as well. Like you have liberal Jews, you have liberal Christians, you have liberal sort of Muslims, and you have liberal atheists. They all have this problem, right? So even when you see liberal Jews, they are also, they can't call out Islamic extremism as well, not Islamic extremism, but actually Islamic problem, right? They can't call it, because it's not Christians, Jews, atheists, or Muslims. It's liberalism itself, which is making them be like this, and that's why we have the problem.
I watched the video earlier on, which I was going to play, but I thought, you know what, the way tensions are at the moment, I don't need to play this. But it was an Islamic woman, a Muslim woman, basically taking the piss out of a Christian, saying, we're coming to take over, we're here to take over, you filthy Christian.
And how stupid are we to let people get away with saying that?
James, it gets worse, because standing right next to them were police officers, and the police officers told told the Christian guy to go away.
Yeah, because he knows he can control him, because he knows that he won't blow himself up. You know,
And
if
this is the
you're
thing.
scared.
Like today, I had 2 young girls come up to me just as the protest had started in Epping, and they come over to me. They went, "We're really scared. This is the first time we've been here." And I said, "Right, okay. Well, what's happened?" They went, "Oh, nothing here." They said, "We was walking up to the protest, and one of the girls was all in pink, and with that, some woman started verbally attacking them and saying, 'You're disgusting.'" These girls looked about 15, and there was just so happened there was police there. And the names this woman was calling them, the girl recorded it. And they said, like, went to the police officer and said, "Can you tell this woman?" And they went, "Just don't walk down here again." And they went, "Yeah, but she's attacking us."
That's not a solution.
And that is that whole thing. Oh,
Yeah.
we won't defend you because
Yeah.
you're not going to say anything. But because she's a lefty and she's saying spouting out how she wants, oh, that's okay. But don't you ever walk down this street again. And it's like,
I mean, God forbid, right? God forbid, if this all ends up kicking off, I personally feel the police, and when I say the police, I'm not talking about necessarily individual police officers now, although some of them, you know, could have their finger pointed at them. But in general, I believe the police have played a major role in this because they've been cowardly in dealing with the violent ones. They've let them get on with it. They've allowed them to become emboldened. But they've basically taken the piss for 2 years.
Yeah, it's
really
the
have.
police chiefs.
I would
I would
go-
say
I would
like
go-
police chiefs. Yeah, go on, James.
I would go a little bit further than that, though, Paul. I'd say because not only have they emboldened the others, they actively then come down.
Oh, your mic is gone again.
Your mic's gone again, James.
Yeah.
Really, such
Yeah.
a shame.
Yeah, I
Go
mean,
on,
he's right to say like they haven't just like, you know, they have actively actually enabling the other side. They're holding them into the, you know, they're actually running in a way false flag operations as well, you know, for the
When
marches
they
and stuff.
ferried them in to our protest, they ferried in left.
Yeah.
Now, why would you do that? Like, if you're going to let them protest against them, let them walk up to us. Don't ferry them in, because you didn't ferry in all our 70 and 8-year-old women that wanted to come to our protest who actually needed a lift. You know, you can't pick.
No, go on, you got your voice back. Come on,
James, you're back. Go on, mate. Finish off.
Oh, sorry, Sarah. I didn't mean to.
No, it's all right, James. I forgive you. I know you.
There's quite a famous. I brought this up to the police officer today. I mean, they photographed my car, so I said, "Why are you photographing that?" I'm guessing that means that I'm going to get a knock on the door. I've no idea why, but let's face it, they just want to intimidate you. But have you seen the famous video? There's quite a tall, thick-set Muslim guy, and he tells the police officer directly to his face that if you bring your dogs here, we'll kill your dog.
Yeah.
You've seen that? And I brought that up to him today.
Mohammed Hijab, that was.
How can you stand for that? Well, what can we do? It's not directly an offence. I said, okay. I said, how would that be if I said to you? And I was being friendly with him. I was like, there was no confrontation to it. I've been talking to him for quite a while. Because surely they must see this. So how can they, even the officers that don't agree, because we know this is the orders that are coming down from further higher above, how can they, in good conscience, turn up to work each day, knowing that what they're doing? I even said to the officers today, I said, at some point, this is going to come on you now. This is going to affect your daughters. This is going to affect your direct communities. And how are you going to feel? So this is what I think it's hard to understand. How can they not see it, even if they're going, all right, don't maybe go against their orders in public, but simply saying to their superiors, well, I'm not doing that, or call in sick, or come up with some other
I think I've got part of the answer to that, part of it, and part of it is recruitment. They've no doubt recruited from the left over the years, but the other part of it is this: is that I believe that when you join an institution like the police force, what happens is you become institutionalized. And what it is that they don't really socialize with anyone else. They, you know, police officers tend to marry other police officers. They tend to date other police officers. They socialize with other police officers. And what happens is they get in this bubble where they believe that they're always on the right and no one else understands.
Yeah.
So even if you've got a genuine complaint, they will say, "Oh, you don't understand." Because we see it, you don't,
and that's not just related to the police. Actually, that's to every single public institution, right?
absolutely,
So when
absolutely.
we see the police chiefs, right, they are the ones who are actually directing this ideology. And since they moved the requirement for the police officers to have a university degree or whatever, that's when it's shifted to the left. There's a recruitment problem already. The right kind of people that you would want to be the police officers, they're not going to become they're not going to be police officers, right? They are doing other things instead, right? And what you're getting is you're actually getting incompetent police people to become police officers. So they have to rely on the orders because they can't think for themselves, because they're not competent enough, right? So they just follow what the protocol says, and they just do it. And they have this, they just drink up all this, like, mainstream nonsense and stuff. So they will just believe in these things. And this happens, I've seen it within local government, within civil service, and everywhere, right? They're not engaged. But once you start talking to them individually, and you kind of open their eyes, they're sort of like, "Oh, well, I never thought about that." And you kind of sat over there, you fucking hell, you're a local government officer or whatever, you're a police officer, you should know these things. Why should, but you are protecting us, you are serving us, you should be aware of these things. Why are you not aware of these things? Why do we have to beg you to open your eyes?
It's like, it's ridiculous, because like you say, now they've brought it in that they go to university and train, and they have to do that. It was always that you come out the army and you joined the police force. A high percentage of police officers had an army background training. So like with restraining people used to get restrained by police officers. They knew what they was doing. They had that background. Now you look at people trying to restrain, they haven't got a clue what they're doing. They're causing more harm than good to anybody they restrain. There's a guy that comes to our protest, big, tall, black guy called Isaac. He has learning difficulties. And a few nights ago, he got arrested. 5 of them restrained him, held him down on the floor, and he was wailing like a baby. What on earth was they doing? But yet you had the pro-Palestine march, stand up to racism, opposite, shouting abuse. Not one of them did they go and try and arrest, but they've tried to arrest someone who is incredibly inoffensive. And you go, what are you doing? Do you feel macho because you've got this tall guy down on the ground? But actually, there's nothing macho about what you've just done. But you don't want to go and arrest any of the others because they might actually cause you harm. And you've got to stop. Like the police, you cannot be complicit in this, because Nazi Germany, they all got held accountable years later. And I've called a lot of the police out, and I said, how will you feel in the future when your children do not have the benefits what you had as a child? When you have children yourself, maybe then you might start to think and go, you know what, this country's going one way. And they don't care. But
this is where their institutionalised, Sarah, because amongst themselves, when they get back in the van, they all believe that they're the good guys and that we're all mad.
Well, you've got
we're all bad.
Look at who arrested. You had young officers. They got no life experience. I would say probably none of them have got kids who was in EPIN. Majority of them, they haven't got a clue what they're doing. They don't even know the section in what they're arresting you under. They're telling the citizen journalists the other night, you've got to go and stand on that side. No, hold on a minute. They don't stand on either because they're not with a side. They're reported. Then they're saying, we're going to arrest you under section blah, blah, blah. You can't do that. You actually can't. They're a reporter. Then they're saying, well, where's your proof that you're a reporter? You don't need proof. So the police do not know their own laws and their legislations and what section they're arresting anyone under. It's abuse of power.
Yeah, they've been making it up as they go along a lot of the time.
Yeah. But I've met a guy recently, and he's actually arrested 3 police officers himself. Took him to the custody suite, and the duty officer didn't know what to do. And he was like gobsmacked. Look, and he said, I'm arresting both of these officers. And he's arrested.
I don't think I'll be giving that one a try. Thank you, Keon, and thank you, David, as well. Gloria, thank you. Hi, Paul and guests. Go on, James.
Can you hear me? And then the mics come back on.
Yeah. No, we've got you, mate.
I was talking to a police officer about this today, actually, and because I think, well, look, they know your details anyway, so there's no point trying to hide from it. And I was on the mic. Ironically, I don't go to a lot of protests, but today I went to both Faversham and then to Epping, just how they come about. But I made a point of speaking to the police officers, thinking, well, they can see my car. Obviously, I don't really hide anything.
Gone again, your mic.
Lost you, mate. He's back again. Go on, James.
You know that you're policing by consent, and I'm not condoning violence. I said, but surely you must see that at some point when this turns and you're getting attacked, and you think, why did the normal British public not step in to help you? When you're getting kicked to pieces on the floor, and you think, now I'm not saying that us normal people.
No, you've gone again, mate. I think what James is saying is if a police officers are in trouble, why are the public not coming in to help them?
Or in the future, why won't they as well?
Yeah,
in the future, and I've said this before as well, like, what are you doing? You have to realize you're doing this to your own people. You come from those people. You are of those people, and your future are of those people. So what are you doing? Like, and another thing that they forget as well, like in this country, the policing has always been different from the whole of Europe, right? Policing over here has been done by consent. Always by consent, and that's why it has worked. That's why a police officer would also be more comfortable putting James under arrest rather than Abdul, right? Because James knows that it is done by consent. And the problem we're having as well is, like, we haven't taught the proper meaning of agreeing and disagreeing and consent to these lefty kids, first of all. And then we've got all of these people coming in legally and illegally from these countries, underskilled, unskilled, who don't understand the meaning of consent. We have people who are appearing in court and said, oh, I didn't know it was not okay to rape a 14-year-old girl in your country. These people, like, don't understand the basics of a civilized country, of consent and stuff. They cannot be policed by that, right? So the police is already trapped in two minds. In that sense, do we come down like a hammer, or do we try to police by consent? They can't, because you added all these
here's the big moments. Here's the big question for you there, Tesbot. Thank you. Question for moments: how do we solve the issue of Islam in the UK, in your opinion?
Stop appeasing to them. Stop appeasing to them, and you have to take away the access, and you have to stop the opportunities gaining in, right? So how you take away the access is, obviously, you stop the borders and stuff for more of them coming in, legally or illegally, right? You have to say, we have a problem, do the statistics. The problem from these nations, of these religions, are the most problematic, right? So we're not going to have immigration from these countries anymore. Then you take away all the benefits that are associated with Islam. I would personally take away the religious status of Islam, so that all the exemptions are taken away from Islam, because I do not think it's a religion, right? But that's another matter. But if you take away all the exemptions, like, or all the benefits, like halal food, or still allowing cousin marriages, or allowing them to bring in their families, and all of these things, when you take away all of these things, the benefit that they're here for, they're not here for the love of the country, right? So anyone who thinks that really needs to go and get themselves checked, because they're not here for the love of the country, right? They're here because we are letting them abuse the system, right? So the English need to stop doing that. The British need to stop doing that, right? And that's how you stop the making of the minaret mosque, right? So because the making of the minaret mosque, with a minaret, right, is a symbol in Islam. It's a symbol of occupation in Islam. They don't just want a community center anymore. They want a big mosque, a status symbol, right? They're building mosque in Lake District here or there, where there's barely any population of Muslims over there. Why they're doing it? And that's a marker. They're putting their flag down. So these sort of things, people need to wake up. And all the politicians that sort of what they need to do is just start making policies that are for British people, right? That's it, right? And stop having anyone who cannot take an oath on the Bible in Parliament should not be allowed to represent the people of a Christian country.
Yeah,
They
I
should not
agree.
just the same as no Christian, no Jew, no Hindu can become an MP in Pakistan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So their people should be, I think so, treated the same. That's fair. I think so. And you take away all these things away, right? Their numbers will start going down. And many will voluntarily leave. We can add a voluntary cachet to it, like we can say we'll give you 30,000 pounds to fuck off, right? And many will take that bait as well. You got to do all of these things, but first of all, people need to realize that Islam is a problem. Stop hiding behind, oh, is the Islamist, oh, but my moderate Muslim friend who has bacon or drink. I don't give a fuck about your moderate Muslim friends anymore, because they are actually legitimizing Islam in this country. And first, people need to realize it is a problem. Then let's take humane steps to deal with it. We don't want to become like them. We don't want to act like animals. We don't want to hurt people or whatnot. But we have to make them realize that their behavior, their actions, their malarkey is no longer accepted.
I agree with all of those. There's one quick other one. It's only a small one that I would add on to that as well, though. Ban all face coverings in public, male and female. Because what is the point? One on women, it's oppression. We've had the suffragettes to have votes and equal opportunities in this country for men and women. And I don't believe that anybody is going to choose to walk around covered like that. It is quite simply a sign of oppression. But even on men, why should they be walking around with balaclavas on? Now, I mean that about us as well. I mean everybody.
Yeah.
What is the point of having all this CCTV and stuff like that if you can simply cover your face up? Simply, the police should be able to take it off you straight away. It should be an immediate offence. Again, I was talking to the police about this because just going, this is just so obvious. And Momus, generally, I completely agree. I believe they'll start deporting them.
Yeah.
We won't need to be paying them no £30,000. We'll start deporting, and then I'll tell you what.
You know, James. Sorry to interrupt.
When you go on holiday, especially from countries where they're supposed to be fleeing from, cancel the return ticket.
Yeah, send them home.
You can't have been fleeing that much, can you?
Yeah.
If you want to see what their connections still are to these countries that they were so afraid from, look on their phone records.
Exactly.
But where they've been calling the most is not that difficult. But I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what's as big a problem as this. Our own lot. Our own lefty lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, I think they're even worse in many respects.
Yeah.
I agree.
At least the others have got an excuse.
Now, if you don't let them take the opportunity, they won't. I mean, we sort of can't really blame you can't blame your enemies for acting like your enemies, right? Why are you like sort of surprised that they're acting like your enemies? That's their job. That's what they're going to do. That's written on the tin. You pick up Islam, is written on the tin, right? Like they're against the Jews, they're against the Christians. They're going to make the whole world Muslim, and it's incumbent on every single Muslim.
Problem with everybody else, don't they? That's there is group of people that Muslims don't have a problem with.
They don't hide it either.
No, it's there.
It's crazy, and like you said earlier, you can't be having people in power that have got so much power in our country having like from other religions, because if they're extremists or they've got certain beliefs, how can you have the Sadiq Khan as the mayor of London? When did that little rat get so many likes?
How dangerous of it? Let me just bring a couple of the chats in here. Thank you, Keon. Really appreciate that. David and Gloria, thank you so much for supporting the channel. Really appreciate that. Martin's been a member for 13 months. Thank you. Another rich idiot that lives in an ivory tower. We done Tezbot's question. Best Black, thank you too. I really appreciate that. Momus, how much of a kick in the teeth was it for us to see Shabana Mahmood be appointed as Home Secretary. Do you think that was a deliberate move or just
that was just inevitable. That's just inevitable. Like, you letting them do this for years and years and years and years and years. What do you expect is going to happen? Are they just going to be like, oh no, I'm just happy being your local counselor and just raping your girls? No, I'm going to rape your entire country, right? Your entire culture. I'm going to take over your whole thing, right? Obviously that's going to happen. And that's the same thing that you see. Well, how surprised are we to see Keir Starmer in power? Why wouldn't the commies be in power? Because we're letting them do this. So I mean, it's not surprising for me. It's just surprising. All of this is surprising that it hasn't come sooner, to be honest, that they're actually playing the long game. But no, it's not surprising at all. Like that person, she's not the only one. Look at all the other the MPs as well. Look at all the other Labour councillors as well. Most of them can't even speak English properly, and they are
over
like
500 now.
representing. What the hell is that?
Over 500 now on 25 MPs.
The mayors as well. How many mayors?
Actually, one of the other things actually I meant to bring up when we was on about things that you would do to remove this problem. This is a very easy one. Remove the postal vote.
Oh yeah.
As soon as you remove the postal vote, then you've got to then vote yourself. You either turn up with ID. If they're not then chasing the Muslim bloc vote, although you'll still get sectarian voting, why would a lot of these women wouldn't they then vote for other parties that you think, well, are not going to oppress me? At least the parties can't be chasing that as much. And let's face it, that's taken away at a stroke of a pen.
Yeah. But you know what, James, like what annoys me about that as well, about that is that we have to change our ways because of these dickheads, right?
Yeah.
And this is like, we have to become more authoritarian. And the reason why postal voting was there was to help the old people and vulnerable people, to give them a vote, to give them a right to vote, and not make them feel like they can't participate in the elections, right? Now we have to take away all of these things.
I've always postal voted. I've always postal voted because it's convenient. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
Why should we have to change?
But it's so annoying that we have to.
How are we going to address these things relatively easily? Then if we can remove the bloc Muslim vote by removing the postal vote, whilst I don't agree that we should have to, you don't want to have to fight for your country, but ultimately that is the position that we're in, though, isn't it, Momus?
Yeah.
Momus, have you did you join Advance?
Yeah, they convinced me eventually to join Advance. So
you're now a member of Advance. So I need to get you and Ben to sit down together. I think you got a very important role to play, I think, for us in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm ready to fight the crusade if needed. So.
Oh dear, James, I tell you, the first thing we're going to do for you, my friend, is get your mic situation sorted. I think that's a big one because I've enjoyed your company tonight, and I'd love to have you on a regular basis. Jackie says, Momus for Home Secretary. Hope you're listening, Ben. There you go. Look. Tesbot, will you be our PM, Momus? Wise man. Look, listen, Momus, there's one rule on this channel. You can't be more popular than the host. Oh, dear. That's why Danny and Richard are not on. Oh, by the way, Danny and Richard are both now officially live. So I'm going to call it a day because I promised them that I'd send everyone over from my channel to theirs. Just don't bother. But they're live if you want to go and see Danny or Richard. There's 2,500.
Who are you going to pick?
I'm going to bed, Sarah. I'm going to bed. It's an easy one. It's gone 11. So there's 2,500 people watching here tonight. Thank you so much for that. Please give us a thumbs up before you go. And then you can either pick Richard or Danny, or you can do what I'm going to do, go to bed. It's up to you guys. Sarah, as always, look, we've run out of time, but there was things I wanted to talk to you about. One of them of which, of course, is the fact that where was the story? I've got it written here, but we'll talk about it next time. Tower Hamlets Council labelling the pink ladies as far right. And apparently all you jackboot wearing pink ladies, you teenagers and older women there are all
All
goose
fuzz.
stepping Nazis. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I get it. They label me as that because I really look like a far right, Nazi fug, don't I? Like at my 5'4", 8 stone. But when they start labeling the likes of 80-year-old women as far right,
Oh, they don't care.
I mean, what are they going to do? You should have seen them when we took them out on Wednesday. These, I'm not going to say old girls because I got told off for that. These mature women, right? It was like they had been taken out on a hen do. You should have seen them. They were so like, oh my God, look where we're going, girls.
Hey, Sarah, don't you start thinking about bringing them over here at Benidorm. I can't deal with that lot.
What about that veteran in the wheelchair that held up the flag and 5 officers carried him off?
I know.
You're like,
and this is where the police are complicit in what they're doing, and they have got to stop. They need to be called out on it, and you know that they are part of the problem. They are a major part of the problem.
Right, guys, thank you so much, Sarah. As always, you've been brilliant. Momus, don't leave it too long before you come back, my friend. Always great to have you on, and I wish you all the very best. James, we'll have a chat on the phone this week. Get your mic problem sorted out, and we'll have you back as well.
I didn't even know I had a mic problem until tonight.
Oh, mate, I'll tell you what, mate, you'll find out you've got a lot more problems than when you've been speaking on this panel over the next few weeks, I'll tell you.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you soon. All the best, everyone. Take care.